What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA, the biggest stories with the local experts. I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, also host of Locked On Rockets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today, we're joined by John Karalis from Locked On Celtics. The Boston Celtics rout the Milwaukee Bucks 109-81 in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals behind a career night from Grant Williams, just absolutely on fire from three, as were the entire Boston Celtics team, shooting 40% from beyond the arc, a Boston three-party, if you will. Just how were the Celtics able to pull off this dominant Game 7 win? But first, a quick message from our friends over at Built Bar, because when it comes to protein bars, you need to choose the right one, right? And with Built Bar, you can enjoy a protein bar that actually tastes like a candy bar. Every single bar is coated in 100% delicious chocolate. They're not gritty or chalky like other protein bars on the market. Every single bar is going to be low cal, low sugar, high protein, high fiber. Amazing if you're on a keto diet. Amazing if you're trying to cut back a little bit, maybe lose a little bit of weight. And the flavors that they have to offer. Oh, you got raspberry, strawberry, mint brownie, salted caramel, cookies and cream. My personal favorite, coconut brownie chunk. You really can't go wrong with a single flavor on their menu. And you can check them out. Just go to built.com and use promo code LOCK15 to get 15% off your very next order of the best tasting protein bars on the market. Again, that's promo code LOCK15 for 15% off at built.com. Joining us now is John Karalis from Locked On Celtics. You can follow on Twitter, the Bird app, at John_Karalis. John, the Celtics coming away with a huge Game 7 win against the reigning champion Milwaukee Bucks. Final score 109-81. A Boston three-party, if you will, shooting 40% from downtown, 22 of 55 overall. But let's backtrack to before it looked like the win was in hand. The Celtics started this game, and things didn't look great. 5 of 22 from the floor before they reeled off, 5, 6, 7 straight buckets in a row at the top of that second quarter. What did you see change early in that game?
Well, it actually kind of followed the same script that this series has been following. A lot of these games have started with Milwaukee punching first, and the Celtics have tended to come into the second quarter and start to play better in the second quarter. It's Milwaukee always seemed to start each half better, and the close aside from Game 5 was always like a little sketchy. And so I saw the Celtics just kind of like just keep going, sticking to the plan, and then the shots started to fall. I mean, really, it's as simple as that. The Celtics were as cold as you could be at the beginning, but they made things difficult on Giannis. Giannis missed some shots. Milwaukee missed a bunch of shots, and the Celtics, they started to fall. All of a sudden, in that second quarter, you started to see, all right, here comes Grant. Grant is starting to pick it up. Jayson Tatum is starting to pick it up. They just kind of kept that steady march that Ime has always talked about. Ime Udoka is just, keep going with it, stick to the plan. It's going to work out. They did a good job attacking. Peyton Pritchard came in and gave them some good minutes in the second quarter. Just kind of changed the energy a little bit. And yeah, I think with the Celtics, we knew that Milwaukee was going to force them to take some 3-pointers. Once they stayed comfortable, and started to see a couple of those fall, we saw the result.
Now, a big part of Milwaukee's just whole defensive game plan was to force certain guys to take certain shots. And in this game, that guy was Grant Williams. They gave up 18 3-pointers to Grant Williams, who wound up hitting 7 of them. A career night for Grant Williams, 27 points in this game. How important was it for Grant Williams? And you talk about the message from Ime Udoka, right? Just to keep taking those shots, right? To not go away from what they knew was going to work in the end.
Ime said after the game, I told him to let it fly. And you saw in the last couple of games where he took 1 3-pointer in the last game and 2 in the game prior to that. He had been struggling with his 3-point shot. And what he'd done is like up fake and drive. And yes, the Celtics were about, you want to go drive and kick and get that. But Grant is not exactly the guy that, not right now. Like, come back with that drive and kick game. He's done really well attacking closeouts, but against this Milwaukee defense, They want him shooting the 3-pointers. So he said, all right, you want me to shoot the threes? Okay, I'll shoot the threes. And he ended up taking 18 of them. But that's what Milwaukee was daring him to do. And he's worked really, really hard to get that 3-point shot kind of reliable. And he still has ebbs and flows to his 3-point shooting kind of accuracy, but he stays confident because the team stays confident in him. So he really did a good job playing kind of more within himself and taking the shots that were there. And once a couple go down, you just start to feel that confidence. And it, I think, was contagious. Peyton Pritchard had a big three-pointer stretch in the third quarter. Other guys started to hit shots. And I think it all came off of what Grant Williams was doing.
Yeah, those Peyton Pritchard step back 3-pointers hit a little bit different when you're up and when you're winning, as opposed to when you're losing a game and you see Brad Stevens walking out of whatever suite he was watching the game in. But let's shift gears here. We talk about Jayson Tatum a little bit, the guy who's at the epicenter of everything that the Boston Celtics are, want to achieve, want to do. And in this game, he had a very solid performance, although a bit quieter maybe than Grant Williams, but 23 points, 7 of 14 shooting. He had the 6 rebounds, 8 assists, really strong overall night. But there was a very pivotal moment in this game, John, where Tatum picked up his 4th foul. They challenged it. They tried to get it, overturned. Didn't happen, had to sit down. And the Celtics responded in a big way, right? That could have been the moment where you saw this Celtics team cave without their star player on the floor for the majority of that third quarter, picking up his 4th foul with about 8 minutes left to go in the third frame, I believe. And then they responded in a really big way.
Yeah, I mean, that you saw the energy actually kind of pick up. It's like you could hear them say, all right, we know that we don't have our guy. So we need to really like play here. And you saw more ball movement there. The energy was there. And I think this is why the game 7 at home was really important. And we know that the Bucks kind of sacrificed the game 7 for, in order to avoid Brooklyn. And that decision does kind of loom here, because in that situation in the third quarter, when Jayson Tatum goes out, that would be a situation if this game was in Milwaukee and everything transpired the exact same way, the crowd would have been into it. They would have, that momentum would have gone Milwaukee's way. And you saw at the end of the game, Giannis was kind of slumped on the bench. And of course he was disappointed, but I think he was also kind of gassed. He was missing a lot of shots there in the paint, and he just wasn't shooting well, because I think he was really, really tired, and he's been tired in this. But if that Jayson Tatum moment happens in Milwaukee and everything's kind of, the crowd is being angry, and all of a sudden you get that little bit of juice, maybe Giannis finishes a couple of those layups with some dunks and the dynamic changes, and that's where Milwaukee does go on a run. In Boston, the Celtics respond with a run, and you make a good play after that, and the crowd's behind you, and you get that little bit of energy. I can tell you, Jackson, both teams were just beat to hell at the end of this. Just beat to hell. And that little adrenaline boost from the crowd in that moment actually does make a difference. And I think that's where that came from. The Celtics said, okay, we got to dig down deep. We know we've got to make a play here. And when they did make a play, you get that juice from the crowd behind you, and all of a sudden you start to feel it. Like, yes, okay, come on, one more play. Let's get us to the end of the third quarter. And they did it. They just kept coming.
Every little competitive edge matters when you're in a game 7, do or die, your winner take all scenario. And when you talk about what happened there with Giannis maybe getting a little bit gassed there in that second half, just 8 points scored. He finished, don't get it twisted. He finished the game 25 points, 20 rebounds, 9 assists, almost an absurd triple-double 2020 night. But that second half, just 8 points, 4 of 16 shooting. How much of both, obviously the Milwaukee Bucks, they had their 3-point shooting struggles, just 4 of 33 for 12% on the evening. How much of that played into the Celtics' ability to be a little bit more aggressive with defending Giannis and really just making life hell for him on the defensive side of the floor?
The Celtics have been trying to make his life hell all series long. And I think
easier said than done.
Right. Like, I think I was just having this conversation with somebody yesterday. Like, I think the Celtics have played good defense on Giannis, and he's scoring 44 points. Like, what do you? I thought they've been doing well. What do you do? Like, but I think when it started to become obvious, like, he just didn't have enough. Look, the loss of Chris Middleton was just gigantic for them. To ask Giannis to go and create so much for himself, the Celtics just kind of knew that by the end of games and by the end of the series, like they said that today, Ime said it, you can see it they started to grind him down a bit. And when you are able to be physical with him and they could anticipate when he was putting the ball on the floor and he turned the ball over a bunch and just nothing was comfortable for him. Nothing in this entire series, 7 games, very little of it was comfortable for Giannis. He is the first player to ever have 200 points, 100 rebounds, and 50 assists in a playoff series. And I thought the Celtics did a damn good job defending him, which just goes to show how amazing he is. But what they really limited, and maybe the story of this game, aside from the Celtics 3-point shooting, and it's tied into the Milwaukee lack of 3-point shooting. Giannis had 6 assists in that first quarter when they made their big run and got up 10 early. He had 3 assists the rest of the way. And I always said, if you could limit his assists in this series, then you're golden. It doesn't matter how much he scores because it's all about these other guys. Without Chris Middleton, it's all about these other guys. And you just didn't have anybody you could trust that, on Milwaukee, like Holiday, all those guys have moments and are capable, but to do it all the time, the Celtics banked on that. And that's part of their defensive strategy. And that's why it paid off.
The Celtics advance after clinching the win here in Game 7 against the Bucks and awaiting them. It doesn't get any easier. They've got the Miami Heat awaiting in the Eastern Conference.
Here's
final,
the top
right? Right. You get through the Brooklyn Nets, then you get through the Milwaukee Bucks, the reigning champs, and now here's the number 1 seed Miami Heat. Good luck. Have fun. But you're gonna have us covered. You're gonna have us covered for all of that and more, of course, over at Locked On Celtics. John, appreciate you stopping by Locked On NBA with me.
You got it, Jackson. Anytime.